On June 27, 1995, Jodi Huisentruit was supposed to anchor the news at a Mason City, Iowa television station, KAAL-TV. Like most early morning news personalities, Jodi should have arrived to work by 3:30 a.m. or so that Tuesday morning. She spoke to another producer, Amy Coombs, around 4 a.m. to say that she was running late and was just about to leave for work, but she never arrived there. That producer covered for her during the morning broadcast. According to Coombs, being late was not unusual for Jodi, but this time it was different. Her co-workers would report her missing by 7 a.m. Mason City police found her red Mazda Miata with a black rag top in the parking lot of her apartment complex, the Key Apartments. It was only a mile or so from the television station where she worked. Items were scattered around the car. There was a pair of women's shoes, a blow dryer, a bottle of hairspray, car keys, one of them bent and in the car, and earrings. This led police to believe that she had been abducted. Her purse and a briefcase that she was known to carry were not located. There were signs of a struggle, police say, including some apparent drag marks. Now, it had rained, so there's a possibility that some evidence might have been washed away in the rain. Nowadays, also, there might have been any number of security or CCTV cameras that could have been checked, but in 1995, that kind of coverage was not prevalent yet. There was nothing unusual in Jodi's behavior in the days leading up to her disappearance. She went water skiing with friends, and then bar hopping, after which she stayed at an apartment in Iowa City. She wrote to her mother and attended a charity golf event. Golf was a favorite pastime of Jodi's. She planned to be in a friend's wedding the following weekend. An investigator, Jim Feldhaus, who became a little obsessed with the case, as he put it, says that there may have been a male in the apartment when Jodi went missing. He says the toilet seat may have been up in the bathroom, but he couldn't confirm that information, and that there were empty cans of a brand of beer in the apartment that Jodi did not drink. On that day, and for several days following, the nearby Winnebago River was rain-swollen. It's a wide and murky river that flows downstream from Jodi's apartment, through a park area, and onto the clay banks for a state preserve until it meets the Shell Rock River in Rockford. 20 or so officers and trained K-9 would search a half-mile radius around Jodi's apartment, but would never find her. The scene gave no clues as to where she was or where she was taken. Nearly 100 interviews that took place the first 3 days of the investigation revealed little in the way of finding Jodi. The Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation and the FBI both joined in the search within the first day or so and the investigation, but very few clues were ever located. In fact, it's been more than 28 years now, and the location of Jodi or her remains are a mystery still. The red Mazda Miata did not belong to Jodi at the time, although she was using it. She was planning to purchase it, but the sale didn't happen before her abduction. According to Stephen Ridge, a private investigator, no one was ever able to speak to the individual, though that person did settle on a price with Jodi's mother after Jodi disappeared. There was a white van in the parking lot of the Key Apartments, according to witnesses, and some in the complex heard a scream sometime after 4 a.m., but unfortunately, no one called 911. It said that there's a campground nearby, and that the neighbors who heard the scream just sort of put it off to noisy campers. The van had its parking lights on, according to a resident who spotted it there around 4 a.m. The search continued until July the 3rd, covering much of the downtown area and another area just southwest of the city. The FBI did analyze whether or not Jodi's case was linked with any other disappearance of young women in the region. The Iowa DCI believed that the culprit was probably watching Jodi may have even known her and learned her behaviors before he attacked. The location of the key apartments at the time, and even today, would have provided some cover to a potential stalker or an attacker. With the river just to the south, the apartments were surrounded by otherwise commercial properties, parks, and a church, all unlikely to have much in the way of witnesses. Also, in minutes, a vehicle could have been in rural Iowa without having to travel past many residences or open commercial buildings at 4 or 4:30 or so in the morning. Police made no public statements regarding a suspect back in those first few days, though some indicated that they believed Jodi likely knew and trusted the person who took her. Early in the investigation, police gave a polygraph test to John Benson of Mason City. At the time, he was 49 years old. He was a district sales manager for Pfizer Hybrid Seed Company and a friend of Jodi's. He was the last person known to have seen Jodi before her disappearance. She had gone to his apartment to watch video of a birthday party he had thrown for her just a few weeks before. He says they watched the video and talked, and she went home. She did place a call to a friend in Mississippi after returning home. She sounded happy, nearly giddy, they said. Another suspect police considered was Thomas Kurskaden. He was a convicted sex offender who may have been traveling in the area at the time. He did have a light-colored van, a yellow Ford Econoline, and later bragged about his status as a suspect. However, they did take a palm print from Kurskaden, but that did not match one that was left on the Miata at the crime scene. A lie detector test they gave him also was not helpful to the investigation, at least in terms of finding the culprit. Sex offender Tony Jackson was also a suspect for some time. He was living in the area at the time, had a reputation for violence, went through a breakup just 5 days before, and allegedly wrote a rap song about the murder that he used to impress another inmate while he was in jail. However, police have said that his involvement in the matter is very, very unlikely. Reporters from WCCO-TV were also unable to locate any real evidence of Jackson's involvement in this case. According to many who knew her, Jodi was a very friendly personality who was popular among friends and among her audience. One of those very nice people who come from small towns, according to former colleague Mike Burgess. She liked golf and attended the golfing event the day before her death. She had also been a golf champion back in school. Before KAAL-TV, where Jodi worked for nearly 2 years, she worked at KGAN in Cedar Rapids and at KSAX in Alexandria. Those who worked in television news at the time expressed concern early on about unwanted attention coming from strange men toward women in the news. Letters, unwanted phone calls, drive-bys all raised some concern for the safety of women in Jodi's profession. There is no indication, though, that Jodi was experiencing any type of threatening attention. However, a Mason City martial arts instructor said that Jodi took a self-defense course from him in March 1995. She told him that she had an incident a few weeks back that she was uncomfortable with. Coons would say in an interview with FindJodi.com, which is a website maintained to keep light on the case, that she mentioned once that she thought she was followed while rollerblading, but that it never happened again and she was not worried about it. However, she did report to police some 2 weeks before her death that a dark pickup truck paced her while she was running and concerned her so much that she went and knocked on someone's door, asked for help, and reported to police that she thought she might be being stalked. In fact, in the early days, friends, co-workers, and family had high hopes that she would be found safe. Her boss at the time, Doug Meerbach, even kept her on the schedule, expressing an optimism for her well-being that many held to. Local people left their porch lights on so that if Jodi reappeared and needed a safe spot to run to, she could come knocking. In mid-August, her employer still had her listed as on leave. However, nearly 4 years later, a murder just 30 miles west in Britt, Iowa, led to another mysterious lead. Jackie Folkerts was the 19-year-old waitress who was stabbed to death in her home in January 1999. Just a few weeks before her death, she told her aunt and uncle, David and Olivia Mitchell, about a strange man who had came into the Colony Inn where she worked and talked about Jodi. He said that he was involved with the kidnapping of the anchor woman. When he came in a second time, Folkerts got the man's plates and information that was passed on to Iowa DCI. Now, nothing came of that. It's not unusual that some very strange people acknowledge participation in crimes that they had nothing to do with. So that lead sort of dried up and went nowhere. Still another 10 years on, a woman came forward to claim that she was present when Jodi was murdered. In an interview with NWA, she said that she saw Jodi murdered in a barn, in an abandoned barn. She alleged that 6 men were involved in the murder. However, she would recant parts of her statement, and police found no credibility in what the woman said. And she would later claim herself that she was not present, but was told of the story of the murder. Now, she has some other issues, and it's not unusual that these sorts of things happen. Jodi's case, it was very high profile and attracts a lot of this type of thing. But the hope that friends and family had that she would return home safely began to wane when the first month passed, really. More than 800 interviews and leads had been processed by police by that point, including Van Size's polygraph examination. The reward grew from about $10,000 US to about $26,000. By early September, her family hired a private investigator to help. In the intervening time, America's Most Wanted featured Jodi's case that September. In February of '94, Unsolved Mysteries covered the case. Disappeared on Investigation Discovery aired about her case in 2013. And the show 2020 would cover the case 3 different times. And that coverage did generate more tips, but to date, still no arrest, and Jodi remains missing. Since her disappearance, police have used her dental records to compare her to every unidentified body that's been located, examined cases of other disappearances and abductions for similarities, and hopefully for them, clues to what happened to Jodi as well. In 2001, Jodi was legally declared dead and her estate was administered, and that was something that just needed to be done to put some finality to her estate and deal with her outstanding matters. However, her family and police authorities continue to look for answers as to what happened to Jodi, and naturally everyone wants to bring her home, have her found, and return. There have been tons of rumors and speculation around the case. I talked about a few of those. Maybe Jodi was working on a story about drug dealing. Maybe she was taken by a serial killer. Maybe it was an obsessive stalker. Maybe it was someone who knew her well. The possibilities in this case, because there is so little evidence as to what happened to her, are just wide open. The Find Jodi website has a podcast that goes into significantly greater detail on leads in the matter. You can find the podcast and several articles there. It's just findjodi.com. The reward for information leading to finding Jodi or otherwise obtaining justice has increased to $50,000 as of the day I'm recording this. That is September the 5th, 2023. It's not beyond hope. Even 28 years on, someone out there knows something, knows that one key piece of information, and they might not even know that it is a key piece of information. They might think that what they know just isn't important or helpful, but it could be the key that changes everything. So, someone knows information that could help locate Jodi's remains, or otherwise pinpoint the person who took her and take the next step forward in the investigation. It's really not only about putting a period at the end of this story. Honestly, finding Jodi might lead to justice for her and for her family. Someone out there does know something. So if it's you, if you have any information, no matter how small you think it is, no matter how minor you think it might be, please contact the Mason City Police at 641-421-3636, Crime Stoppers at 1-800-383-0088, or the Iowa Missing Person Information Clearinghouse, which is part of the Iowa DIC, at 515-725-6036. And please, if you enjoy videos like this, if you want to know what's going on in missing persons investigations and other true crimes cases, subscribe, give me a follow, like the video, comment down below, and we'll see you next time.